Hello everyone, it's a real pleasure to welcome you to the first day of the CAS Virtual Showcase 2021 and this session, which is a STEM Ambassadors special. I'm really excited to welcome an amazing panel of special guests, Leslie Whyte-Venables from STEM Learning, two fantastic STEM ambassadors, Tim Chapman and Bob Bilsland, and also my esteemed colleague, Julia Adamson, who will kick off the session shortly. My name is Tim Wilson and I am an outreach manager for CAS and today's host for the session. Well, we are also joined by Sarah Zaman, who is also an outreach manager for CAS, who is our moderator today and will be monitoring the question window. But just before we kick off, I have a couple of very quick things to share. In terms of housekeeping, during the session, please use the question window on the right-hand side of your screen to ask questions or share comments. The top of the window has a convenient orange rectangle which can be expanded or collapsed. Sarah will be making a note of the questions and these will be answered if time allows at the end. If time does not allow, responses will be posted on the CAS forum and across CAS social media channels. Of social media, please do tweet, retweet, post, repost, share, comment on today's event using the hashtag CASVirtual21. And as a reminder, all attendees are in listen-only mode. Anyway, first up, I'm delighted to introduce my colleague Julia Adamson to open today's session. Not only is Julia Director of Education for BCS and a vital member of the CAS board, Julia brings 20 years experience from being a primary science and technology teacher to working across the education and technology arena throughout her career. I think you'll gather from her opening words, Julia has an absolute commitment to making things happen and making things better in the world of computing education. So over to you, Julia.
Thanks, Tim, and hi everyone, and welcome from me too to the CAS Virtual Showcase. It is so important that we make time and space to come together as classroom practitioners to share our success in the classroom, to reflect on what worked and to consider how we can make things even better. As educators, we're in the world of inspiring young people to learn about the world around them, to gain knowledge and skills, to be able to go on and thrive in that world. School experience shapes choices. In the 2019 DFE Pupil Parent Carer Survey, it highlighted that computer science GCSE for young people and their parents and carers that recognised that computer science GCSE did have career relevance, but it was highly likely that parents would recommend it as a good career option. But there were high knowledge gaps about the careers. And parents and carers were less likely to discuss a career in computer science than any other STEM subject. So what can you do as an educator to make a positive difference? Well, evidence suggests that context really matters. So linking to aspects of social change, activities that are part of meaningful real-world projects, embedding activities themselves that implied meaning that computing gives you the tools to shape things you care about, make connections to other subjects, make those activities culturally relevant and meaningful to the young people who will access them in your school. Giving young people a sense of self matters too. So design activities that build a sense of personal agency, representation and being seen, and use role models that offer a way for young people to reimagine themselves. You have to believe it will make a difference to you, that you can do it and you'll be good at it, and that you will need to be able to identify with people like yourself to get involved with subjects like computing. And support matters too. Opportunity to access a supportive ecosystem, provide opportunities for interactions with role models. The Bridge Group and Sutton Trust recently surveyed about 800 16 to 18-year-olds. The majority of those young people were from so lower socioeconomic backgrounds. They couldn't identify anyone, a friend, a relative or an acquaintance who works in the technology sector, and they felt feeling distant from it. So there's evidence that context, sense of self and support matters, but more research in this area is really important. And it's my pleasure to introduce Leslie Whyte-Venables from STEM Ambassadors, along with two outstanding and award-winning STEM ambassadors, Tim Chapman and Bob Bilsland, who will share their experiences of becoming a STEM ambassador and the impact the programme has had on young people in schools as well as their own lives. And I'll hand back to Tim now to get this really special webinar started.
Thank you very much, Julia. That's a great way to start the event, and certainly in terms of inspiring the work that we all play as teachers and educators, especially in shaping young people's careers. And with that in mind, it's a real pleasure to hand over to Leslie. Leslie is the National STEM Ambassadors Programme Manager for STEM Learning. Leslie has a background in volunteer management, education business links and work-related learning, and has been involved with the STEM Ambassadors Programme since its inception. Leslie provides a strategic steer to the STEM Ambassadors Programme, and as you will see from her talk, Leslie is fully committed to raising awareness of the STEM Ambassadors Programme, as well as the exciting careers that STEM qualifications can lead to, especially raising the profile of the broad range of exciting careers that young people can have, especially in computing and digital. Leslie, over to you.
Lovely, thank you, Tim, for the introduction, and hello everyone. As Tim said, I'm really keen to help raise the profile of digital and computing roles via the STEM Ambassadors Programme, as well as being the STEM Ambassadors Programme Manager for STEM Learning. I've also been involved with setting up the computing hubs in the east of England and working with the CAS team to access STEM Ambassador support. We know that children make decisions about the types of careers they may or may not be interested in at really early ages, at primary age. We're living in an age where technology is all around us. Every firm is a tech firm. Every company uses technology, and they need employees that can not just use the technology, but develop the new technology solutions for the future. We've all heard people talk about careers that didn't exist when they were at school. I was on a meeting this morning on Zoom earlier with some tech companies that were talking about tech roles that didn't exist 2 years ago, and were really concerned about how to respond to this skills gap and how to get the message out about these exciting careers and new careers. Technology is at the heart of every business, from veterinary science to construction to farming, agritech to cybersecurity, and not forgetting the NHS and all those data scientists and computer scientists that have been part of the teams who've developed the COVID vaccines. So I'd like to encourage you to engage STEM ambassadors in your classroom or after school activities, to raise the profile of the exciting opportunities in technology and digital, but also to demonstrate that technology can be fun and it's for girls as well as for boys. So the STEM Ambassadors Programme is a role model programme. There are 37,000 ambassadors nationally. 57% of them are under 35 years old. 45% of them are female, and 14% are from Black, Asian and minority ethnic groups. So they are, as a cohort of 37,000, really relatable to young people. They have a DBS check, they're trained and they're insured, and they're available via stem.org. And if I can show my screen now, I will show you where you can access them. So if you go to stem.org.uk and to STEM Ambassadors part of the website, you'll see that you can book a STEM ambassador to come into your classroom either face-to-face or virtually. Over the last year, we've seen a lot of primary schools requesting a STEM ambassador virtually. So everything from weekly Google Classroom sessions with their ambassador, or projects like Adopt a Primary School, where a group of STEM ambassadors will work with one particular school. We've seen everything from a STEM ambassador in Monmouthshire, for example, who's helped a primary school by installing an agritech sensor in the school's polytunnel, and they've worked remotely with children to analyse humidity and temperature data. So there's a whole range of opportunities there. If I can just scroll down, there are plenty of videos and activity ideas on the website, and a step-by-step guide of how you can access the STEM Ambassadors Programme. So by going to stem.org.uk to your dashboard, you will need to sign in, but you can advertise an activity, and then when a STEM ambassador expresses an interest, you can offer them a place, accept them, and communicate through the messaging on the digital platform. You complete your activity and then give us feedback on how it went. If I just scroll down a bit further, there are also other resources on the website. There's a teacher handbook. So, for example, in the handbook on page 11, there's a section on how to write a really good activity listing so that it's really clear what you're looking for in your STEM ambassador support. We also have a STEM Ambassador app available to teachers. And if I could just show you that in a screenshot, that's available through Google Play and the App Store. And we really want to make it as easy as possible for teachers to be able to access the STEM Ambassadors Programme. If you don't like the technology or you don't like to go through an app, then you can always speak to someone locally, and we have a network of STEM Ambassador hubs. There are 17 of them around the country, and again on the website, if you click on the links here, it will take you through to your local STEM Ambassador hub, who will be able to work with you to identify STEM ambassadors to support you. I'm not going to talk any longer because I'm really excited to hear from the two STEM ambassadors who are going to be talking today, and I can take any questions perhaps after they've spoken. So thank you, Tim, and over to the STEM ambassadors.
Thank you, Leslie. That's great. And a great introduction to the STEM Ambassador Scheme. And talking of which, I am going to introduce our first STEM ambassador today. I'm going to introduce Tim Chapman. Tim is a cybersecurity solutions architect. That's a title, isn't it? With over 20 years experience, currently works in the enterprise and cybersecurity division at Fujitsu Services. Apologies, Tim. Tim is also the head of junior talent for graduates and degree apprenticeships, and an award-winning STEM ambassador. Tim won the new STEM Ambassador of the Year award in 2019. Tim is also an IT services and support digital T-level panel member, a co-club lead for Christchurch Academy, and teaches Scratch, Python, and Lego Mindstorm. But I'll let Tim talk about being a STEM ambassador, and without further ado, over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tim. Firstly, let me apologise. Unfortunately, I'm having some technical challenges with my webcam, which I've been using for most of the day and has now decided not to work when I've joined this meeting. So as Tim said there in my introduction, I work for Fujitsu. I'm part of the cybersecurity business here at Fujitsu, and I'm a security architect. I specialise in endpoints, but I have a sort of general specialism across the board with regards to the whole cybersecurity field. My sort of journey into becoming a STEM ambassador started back. I became a distinguished engineer as part of Fujitsu's distinguished engineers scheme, And as part of that, Tim, in his previous role with Code Club, came in to do a presentation around trying to get some of the distinguished engineers involved in some of the groups and communities around the Code Club activities. And I kind of took it a different direction and actually went and set one up myself at my daughter's school, which was Christchurch Academy in Stone. It happened really, really quickly. Schools are, as Leslie said, schools are crying out for people to go in, especially from industry, to give them an insight into sort of what we do on a daily basis, but also to give back some knowledge and impart, some of the things that we get involved in. And so I set up a code club. We started doing Scratch. As it got more and more involved, we began expanding it into the Python projects that are available on Code Club. And then, as Tim's just said, across the Staffordshire area, we've got the first Lego League, which unfortunately due to COVID didn't run this year. And we entered 2 teams, and it's based around the Lego Mindstorm robots. So the kids get to build the robots, get to program them, and then get them doing all sorts of different activities and challenges in a competitive scenario against other schools and different colleges, which is great fun for both of us, because we sort of get to regress back to kids playing with Lego, but also from for the kids' perspective, because they get to look at a whole different aspect of programming and challenges. As a STEM ambassador, as Leslie said, we kind of get involved in all sorts of different activities and different things. I work closely with the Engineering Development Trust. They've been running a number of activities across Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire, and so I've been into a number of schools across the area. Started just going in and doing a short 10-minute presentation similar to this on what I do as a STEM ambassador, but quickly it escalated to the point that I was spending all day with them, and in some cases 2 or 3 days with different schools, depending on what they were doing, and depending how bored they got of hearing my presentation. So they're a great organisation to work with. We also do a lot of stuff with the university technical colleges. So we set up the Cybersecurity Council, where we're basically looking to bridge the gap between the number of roles that are available in cybersecurity and education to try and close that gap. It was anticipated by the end of last year there was going to be around about 1 million jobs in the UK specifically focused in cybersecurity. I can't imagine that's changed, even with well, actually we saw more cybersecurity activity with things like the furlough scheme and fake websites popping up. So it's certainly not slowing down in the cyberspace, and it's never a dull day in cybersecurity. Tech Up Women was a really interesting one because that was run by Dr. Sue Black. She set up a scheme for 100 women from underprivileged backgrounds, and I was selected as one of the mentors to effectively talk to them, talk about things that we do in industry, try and relate that to what they were learning in the Tech Up project, and then hopefully get them into a position that they can change careers into a technology career, and increase the number of women and diverse backgrounds across organisations. The T-levels, as Tim said, has probably been one of the biggest things that I've done over the last 18 months to 2 years. I was selected to sit on one of the panel of professionals, so I've been partially responsible for the new T-level qualifications that will start in September for digital. It was an amazing opportunity. It completely changed my view on sort of education, but also it's given education an insight into what organisations are looking for when students leave college and leave universities and come into our organisations. I'm also now heavily involved with the Institute for Apprenticeships as a follow-on to the T-levels. We're looking at the level 4 activities. So I'm currently reviewing all of the content for the network security engineers. And that again's a brilliant opportunity to just start developing new qualifications and bridging that gap. And then the last one that I've recently been involved with is I'm chairing a panel for a steering committee across the Cheshire College Group, which is looking at how the college and the education authorities in Cheshire can go out and get more involved with the communities. Obviously, with COVID, that's had a huge impact on this because none of the usual community centres and all of those types of places are open at the moment. So that's been really challenging for them. But obviously, with the move to come out of lockdown, fingers crossed, we'll start to see that ramp up again, and we'll be able to start offering some more courses in the communities in Cheshire, and hopefully that'll properly kick off again in September. And lastly, you know, we don't do this for awards and things like that. We do it because you know, we enjoy giving our time, and we are all quite passionate individuals when it comes to talking about STEM and getting engaged in STEM activities. But it was a massive honour to be awarded as STEM Ambassador of the Year, new STEM Ambassador of the Year in 2019. But it still doesn't take away from that, you know, that one child that you could potentially inspire to go on and do something amazing. So that's been my journey over the last 6-7 years, and it certainly doesn't seem to be showing any sign of slowing down. So as long as people want us to come and talk and give them an insight into what we do on a daily basis, then we're sort of quite happy to do that and share our knowledge. So Tim, I don't know who's next. I think is it Bob?
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem.
I have to say, one of the key things I take out of your work, Tim, is just the sheer amount of things that you've done out on top of your everyday work, and you know how you've fully embraced getting involved as a STEM ambassador. It's very inspiring, and your award in 2019 was so fully deserved. So yeah, amazing. Bob, I am just going to make you a presenter so you can get set up. And cool. Firstly, I should apologize. My colleague Sarah has said I've been glitching a little bit when I'm talking. There you go. There's the power of technology right there. So I'm going to keep going. Absolutely, I can see your screen, Bob. So I'm going to quickly introduce the fabulous Bob Bilsland. Bob is a software engineer with over 30 years industry experience. And as you will see, he has a passion for sharing his knowledge with others. During his working day, Bob can be found helping colleagues and guiding them to find solutions. But outside of work, not only is he a champion co-club volunteer, he is a very active STEM ambassador. And both of them allow him to share his endless enthusiasm and creativity for computing with the next generation. But I'll let Bob talk about that because, as you said, enthusiasm can be infectious, as a clear warning there. So over to you, Bob.
Thank you very much, Tim. Yeah, the one thing that I always take with everything I do, especially like this, is my enthusiasm. It's something that I believe in, and also it's something that when you're trying to pass on knowledge can be very dry sometimes. Passing on with enthusiasm can make a major difference in a major way of doing things. So I suppose the first question is where do I start with this story of mine? And in some ways I'm lucky. I can go back to a school report that I received in 1987, that's sort of showing my age, that really was a pivotal point for me. And it was something I actually didn't find till much later on in life. actually when I was doing Code Club, that I looked back on these things and realized there had been this teacher in my education that actually stood there and gave me this glowing report. I'll let you know the other reports, we'll skip those ones, but let's focus on this one, because this is a moment. 1987, someone makes a difference to what I was doing and encouraged my interests, turned into a career. You don't know how much effect that had, but I believe that this one teacher that I can remember, Miss Phillips, made a difference and started me on that path back in 1987. Computer studies, though, in 1987, that was a long time ago, different world completely. To me, computing in 1987 was this: Commodore 64 at home, BBC Model Bs at school, and books with BASIC in that I would sit there and for hours on end type things in and hope I could save them out to tape and hope they would work and wouldn't crash the computer, that I would lose everything I've done. We weren't in the age of keyboards and mice. We were in the age of keyboards and text, and it was all just so basic, but it was an era to be in and something that taught me some great grounds for what I now do in my career. Well, from school, where did I go to next? Well, I went to Worcester Technical College and I did a BTEC in computer studies, and then straight off the back of that I went straight into a job with CAS Catalog in Worcester, coding mainframes. And that is just a completely different world, just text and again and nothing else. But these were my groundings, these were my beginnings, this is where I started from, and this is what sort of gave me my push. Let's jump forward to 2012. Why 2012? Well, I've been in the industry for 22 years at this point, and my daughter was coming back from school, the same secondary school that I had gone to, and she was telling me about her computing experiences. And while I was sitting there and saying to myself, you know, I remember bubble sorts, I remember conditional logic, I remember, you know, all these different things that I learned about, she was coming back and telling me about Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. Where was this missing gap? I had come through in this amazing age of the BBC Model Bs, where we were encouraging the secondary school children to try these things called computers and skilling them up. And all of a sudden, they weren't there. And this was before we made any subject choices. You know, all of a sudden, computing had been relegated to this thing that you did once you'd chosen your subjects, not something that everyone got a smattering of. Yes, computers were everywhere, don't get me wrong, but they were just being used and no one was telling these children, hey, do you know that software you use, that game you play? Well, you could do that. It's not just for other people. You know, we were left with the kids playing in their own time and hoping that we would be able to catch them at the later point when they came to subject careers and all this. And as I said before, maybe some kids were missed because they never had their opportunity to shine with these things called computers, and their choices had been made and were set in stone and away they went. So it was a big time. Code Club came along, luckily for me, at the same time, and they said, we want to introduce computing to primary school, top end of primary school, and we want to show them what we can do, what they can do with these things called computers. And they also introduced me at the same time to being a STEM ambassador, something I'd never even heard of up to that point. But now I can see why it's so important and what happens with it and how it can help. And they gave me a way of being able to share this passion that you hear in my voice for computers and what they could do with others, and hopefully, you know, start making a difference and opening people's eyes. So along came Code Club. Along came that first academic year. I can remember so clearly in the autumn there. And what was I doing? So I was nervous. I was stood in front of this class. I was stood in front of this whole class full of children, wondering what I could do. Oh my God. But I didn't need to worry. Soon we would fly through space. We were catching ghosts. These were all fantastic opportunities for children to be creative and start exploring these computers in a friendly way to them, to actually start seeing that they could make a difference. They can control these computers. They weren't for someone else. it was such a different world at that point. Sort of, back in 2012, the computing curriculum was such a different thing, and I was having to show the children how to even use Scratch, let alone then showing them the projects. Now we're in an amazing position because the kids come to code clubs and things like this where they already know Scratch. So you're just left saying, come on, let's do something creative, let's do something amazing, let's inspire people to do things. So we started off from these Scratch projects, but we soon moved on to things like HTML and CSS and simple web pages, and we moved on to Python. We must never think that the children at primary school level aren't capable, because they are. Give them inspiration and give it in such a simple way, and they leap and bound and soon start embracing this whole world that they're coming up in. So next, over the years, things have changed, and came really is the physical computing. And this is an even bigger mind changer for the children, because of course, all of a sudden they go from seeing these computers as these boxes that sit on their desks and that's all they ever do with them, to these things that break out of these boxes. First was the Makey boards, which are a fantastic addition to Scratch and to anything else. They're so simple to use. And next thing you know, you've got piles of silver foil everywhere, and you've got Play-Doh that is conductive, and you're getting children to hold each other's hands and see how many can be a circuit. And they're a fantastic opener to really start things. I've made things like Father Christmas alarms, where the bottom of a silver foil of a mince pie is conductive. So if you put 2 of the silver strips down, hey presto, you make a circuit, and as soon as the mince pie is lifted, the circuit's broken. So you can do crazy things. And next came the microbits. These microbits are just another level completely, because all of a sudden they realize that the computer doesn't need to be the box at all. The computer is this little board, and they can program it and run around rooms and interact. They can talk to each other, which just blows their mind. I've had children running to each end of the schools and pressing buttons and sending messages to each other because they can. And it just starts opening their eyes to this world of possibilities that they can embrace, they can do. It's not something that's out of their reach. It's something they can do by just dragging blocks together and copying files onto a device, and hey presto, they've got this thing. It's the same as a mobile phone. It's this computer they're holding in their hand and they're programming. And we're opening their eyes to everything that they can do and the fun they can have. Why would I? Well, I'm not here to try to generate a whole world of software engineers. Far from it. Some may become software engineers, which is great. It's a fantastic career. I enjoy every minute of it. No, what I want to do is I want the children to be able to embrace this technology and do fun things with it, play with it, excite with it, explore it, don't feel afraid with it. These are tools that they can mold to their own thing. In the future, they may learn about decomposition and algorithms and pattern recognition and all those wonderful terms. But when I get them, I want to show them resilience. When something doesn't work, let's debug it. Let's work out how to get it to work again. I want to show them their creativity, and they can put their creativity into these computers and create things. And I want to show them working together and sharing discoveries. These may have words further on that they may learn, but these are also life skills that they can actually play with. I want them to enjoy the club, and I want them to bring their own influences to the project. The projects in my eyes are just guidelines. If the children want to follow them to the letter, fine. If they want to change the graphics, if they want to bring other things to them, do it. This is what brings them into the club. This is what makes them want to be there. And it's not just the children I want there. I want the teachers there as well, because I want the teachers to be able to play as much as the children. As a STEM ambassador, we have to have someone in the classroom to keep an eye on us and make sure the guidelines and everything else is being done safe. But I don't want the teacher just to be there sitting in the classroom in the corner doing their marking. I want the teacher to be as much the club as the children are, because I want them to enjoy and I want them to have fun as well. Because it's only by doing all this fun and learning to sort of play with things that everyone becomes upskilled, and next thing you know, the children are taking these skills into other subject matters and into other classes, and they're showing their friends how to do things. And the teachers, they play, and they all of a sudden play, and they have an idea and they have a thought because they've played, and that then goes into other areas of the school. So It's an amazing opportunity to really, as a STEM ambassador, to share this passion and push it into other people. This is a phrase that I came up with that I love. Sometimes in a world of logic, creativity is king. This is it. Computers are so logical, but then they also are creative if you know what to do with them. You don't have to be a programmer to interact with them. They're not technical. Maybe once upon a time that's true, but computers are just tools. And by understanding the basics and not being afraid of experimenting with this, all of a sudden people see them in different lights and people see them in different ideas and possibilities. I'm constantly amazed every year by what the children can produce. And that's just by giving them a fun and supportive environment to explore in and be different. And also over the years, I've never found two projects that have been the same. They always bring their own things to it. And finally, why? Why do I do all this? Why do I put myself out with no question, no doubts? It's simple. This is why. I get the opportunity to show these children, to energize these children, to inspire these children, to do great things. I get to work with classes, and sometimes I'm lucky enough to work with a small child that just says, I'm not sure these computers are for me. And I say, come on, let's have a look. I'm sure you can find something in there that just floats your boat. Find a little something interesting. It's not only that, I've developed amazingly. If you asked me 9 years ago when I started with Code Club that I'd like you to come and talk to a meeting like this and stand up in front of people and tell you and share my enthusiasms, I would have thought you mad. But now I do it. So it's developed me personally so much, but it's also helped others. It's weird that I can think now and I can reflect back to the first Code Club that I did and start realizing that one of the children in that Code Club could now be in university and they could be studying a computing subject or a subject that has a major part of computing or something that's helped them along their path. And maybe I played some small part in that. And quite simply, at the end of the day, I want to be like that teacher that inspired me some 34 years ago. And if I encourage one child somewhere to do something different and embrace this and explore a bit more, then I'm happy. Thank you.
And I should say, actually, just reflecting on Bob's very inspiring talk, I know Bob will qualify this, but he's had young people who were at his Code Club way back when, who've gone on to do GCSE computer science. Is that right?
There are children that I know, yeah, that I know locally that, you know, I've seen them in a class and I've seen them again later on just in another subject, in another STEM ambassador subject sort of thing, another meeting, and I've come across them and yeah, you know, make a difference.
Yeah, and I totally love your you know, creativity is everything quote. You know, that is very much ingrained in what I do, everything I do as a STEM ambassador as well. Yes, I'm a STEM ambassador too. So everything here is just very, very inspiring. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Tim. Thank you, Leslie. Sarah, are you there? Do we have any questions? We have 3 or 4 minutes for questions. Oh, I can't hear you, Sarah.
And I'll unmute myself. Good job, I waved there. Yes, we do have some questions. You nearly had me in tears there, Bob. That was absolutely inspiring, honestly. A little bit emotional here. Right, questions-wise, we've got Donna's asking, is there a way on the STEM website of finding STEM ambassadors in the local area, or do we need to create an event first? So that's for you, Leslie, if you're there.
Hi, yes, I'm here. And yes, please, if you create an event on the website, on the digital platform, then your local ambassadors will get in touch. If you do want to speak to someone directly, as I said, there are the STEM ambassador hubs around the country. If you click on the link on the website, that will take you through to the details to contact them. You know, if you're not sure what to request, then sometimes going through to the STEM Ambassador Hub team is quite a good idea, just to chat through your ideas before you put it on as a request. But okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Another question, possibly for you, Leslie, again. If I wanted to, somebody's just asked if they want to get a STEM ambassador for a code club, do they request that person on the code club website, or do they need to put it on the STEM ambassador website for code club?
I think either will find its way through to the STEM ambassadors program. I'm afraid I only know the STEM ambassador side, so if you put it on as a request for support for Code Club,
Yeah,
okay,
that makes sense. Oh, thank you. Another question we've got: do STEM ambassadors do virtual visits? Obviously, with current climate.
I was going to say, do you want me to answer that? I've done quite a few virtual visits over lockdown. I've been involved in a number of sessions, from meet the mentor, or even a sort of virtual cybersecurity sessions.
That's brilliant. And how did that work? Did you just did they sort of beam you in on the screen, that kind of idea?
Yeah, we've done it in a couple of ways. We've done sort of virtually in showing one of our conference suites, where we sat in a conference suite and we had relevant people in the room. We've done it literally virtually where everybody was at home. But it's tended to depend, and then it's been either all of the kids sort of dialing in with their own, depending if they've got laptops, we could see all of the kids, or they've had one view of the entire classroom.
Brilliant. Yeah, that sounds good. Excellent. So teachers know that they can maybe, depending on their circumstances, they can request virtual or face-to-face. That's really useful to know. And then the last question was, again, just sorry, Leslie, just to request a STEM ambassador, they go to the STEM website, and then could you just very quickly, we've got about 2 minutes, just go over that again.
To stem.org.uk to the STEM ambassadors area. You will need to create an account if you haven't already got one with STEM Learning, so you just need to log on with your email address, and then go to STEM ambassadors part and request a STEM ambassador.
Brilliant. And is there sort of filters and stuff, I think, isn't there? I'm sure I've requested one before, because I think it says physics and computing and things, so you just, what do you recommend?
Yes. Actually, I did flag that there's a handbook for teachers on the website as well. So on page 11, it takes you through how to write a really good request for a STEM ambassador. And yes, there are certain parts that need to be filled in, like the number of students, age range, and whether you want the interaction to be online, virtual, or face-to-face.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's really helpful. Thank you, Leslie. And that's it, Tim, for questions for today.
Sarah, thank you. Before I sort of wrap up, I just thought take a moment to reflect on the power of volunteering from our speakers today, and the influence that having people come and visit your school can have, the inspiration that this provides to students and to teachers. And when you listen to Tim and Bob, you can also see the impact that it has on the lives of STEM ambassadors as well. So I hope that came across in today's session, and I hope that you're suitably inspired to look into getting STEM ambassadors to come to your school. So I would like to thank Julia for starting the session, and to Leslie, Bob, and Tim, thank you so much for sharing such great insight today. And Sarah, thank you for moderating. At the end of this session, there will be a short survey that will appear on the screen. And we would be immensely grateful if you would take a minute to complete this survey. A recording of this webinar will be available on the CAS YouTube channel, hopefully at the end of this week, but certainly pronto. And finally, we hope to see you at the other sessions in the CAS Virtual Showcase. We've still got 20 to go. And tomorrow at 4, we've got a primary session on cross-curricular computing led by the superb duo of Helen Cotton and Sally Jordan, and a secondary session which I'll be hosting, which will be looking at how you as teachers can make that transition from GCSE computing to A-level computing. And we've got a great panel including Javier de las Heras, Claire Griesbeert and Sarah Tricky. In fact, both sessions, great presenters all round. So get booking on our site if you haven't done so. And please continue to spread the word about computing at school and this event, the CAS Virtual Showcase, using the hashtag CASVirtual21. So that's us. We're done for today. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you to our panel, and I hope you have a lovely evening. Bye-bye for now.